All right, let's get started this evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for those of you who showed up on Wednesday for the talk from Flex Radio. Thank you. That was very interesting as well. And if you didn't get to see that this weekend, I'll get this one in Wednesdays edited and up on my YouTube channel, and I'll post the links so that we can see them. This evening's it was a request from one of the members who wanted to hear more about this company, and I'm fine with that because I've been using this software basically since I started, because a good friend of mine who helped me kind of get back into it when I decided to do it has been using HRD more or less since the beginning, and he wanted me to play around with PSK and some of the digital stuff too. And he said, this is, DM software is the way to do it. So I've been going since version 5, the last free version, before it was taken over by the current company and then developed and expanded way beyond that. So I'm going to turn our presentation over to Mike, and I'll just ask everybody to mute themselves and sit back and let's see, spotlight, sit back and relax and enjoy.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it, Paul. And Jeff, thanks for your comments. I am going to do a little bit of a presentation, but I'll do a bit of an introduction as well. And for the most part, I want to show something. So I'll try to get through the boring slides as quickly as I can, and we'll get into something that we can actually show you what's going on. My mother told me that we were given one mouth and two ears for a reason. And so, we should do some listening occasionally. So I've got a pad and paper, and I'm anxious to take down whatever questions or comments or as you may have them as I go through this. But I'm Mike Carper. I'm Whiskey Alpha 9 Papa India Echo, except when I'm here in Australia, where I am today. It's 10:05 Saturday morning here in Australia, where I am VK4 Echo India Echo. And yeah, my wife and my granddaughter went to Sydney for the weekend. I live in a place called Gold Coast, which is just south of Brisbane, about an hour. And so she's been on holiday with my granddaughter in Sydney. So I'll be picking her up later today. It's good to be back in Porter County virtually. I lived in Valparaiso for a while, a few years, at 184 West Joliet Road. And I lived there while I was working for Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. And I grew up east of Indianapolis, as I said. So I've got a degree from almost every school in Indiana except for the Notre Dame and the one in Bloomington, which I don't mention. And so my ties to the Hoosier State are pretty strong. So I'm going to share my screen here and go through some slides. Yesterday I found that I was doing this with my daughter last night, and I found some neat new features. So I'm going to, this may not be the smoothest share in the planet, but I'm going to, I figured out a way to kind of zoom to the section of the screen that I want. So bear with me. Yes, I get this thing all squared away. That's not exactly where I wanted to go. Hang on. Okay, so let me check and make sure everybody can see the title slide. Good. Everybody can still hear me. Good. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to go through a few slides here, but first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for having me at your meeting. And thank you for, if you're one of our customers, thank you for your contribution to our project here. I appreciate it. We seek to be the best friend that you have in ham radio. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. But if not for the folks who use our software, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Most of you know that this software began as a freeware project for Simon Brown, HB9 DRV at the time. And in 2010 and 11, he had about 30,000 users worldwide, but he wanted to move on to something else. And so he was going to abandon the project. And it took me about a year to talk him into it, but I talked him into selling the program to us, and it's gone quite well, particularly over the course of the last 5 years. So we're really pleased with what we've been up to. What I'm going to talk about today is some folks may not know what Ham Radio Deluxe is. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm going to talk about how we sell it and who we are, what we've been up to. I'll talk about HRD Alert, which is the new feature that we've got coming in the next release, and then we'll do a live demo of that and some other things. So first and foremost, Ham Radio Deluxe is a suite of applications. And I'm going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, but unlike other programs that refer to themselves as a suite, we actually have multiple applications within the same group of software. It's effectively like Microsoft Office for ham radio. You've got rig control, logbook, DM780, rotor control, and satellite tracking. And I see Jeff's got that sexy 4K screen back there with the Omicron. We're actually going to turn Mapper, which is another program we have in the suite. We're going to turn Mapper into effectively Omicron ham radio. We'll probably still call it Mapper, but we'll superimpose all of the content that we have there. I think, some people may want to spend, $400 for the sexy screen, but it's a bit spicy for a lot of us. So, hopefully we can render it in 4K, but I really love that screen, by the way. But we've got about 80% of what we need to do that. So something we might do in the future. So that's actually a 6th application here. How do we sell it? Well, we sell perpetual software licenses. Those perpetual software licenses that license is what you buy in the first purchase. It includes 12 months of software maintenance and support. What does that mean? That means you've got unlimited access to our technical support for that 12-month period. And you have the right to all the features that we release at the end of that, by the end of that 12-month period. If at the end of that 12-month period, you don't need our tech support and you like everything you've got, drive on. Keep using it. Keep pulling down the updates and keep installing them. That's all you need to do. If we release a feature that you'd like to use, maybe like HRD Alert, you may, if you've expired, you may purchase an additional 12 months of technical support and features for $49. There's regular prices of $49.95. I'll give you guys a coupon code at the end of the presentation, and then we'll you can get it for less. Bug fixes are released at no charge. So regardless of whether your software maintenance and support is expired or not, keep downloading and installing the releases. The new features are enabled. We call them locked features, but they're enabled. Basically, the short story is that if the feature was released before your expiration date, it's enabled. If it's released after your expiration date, it's disabled, which is why if you keep installing the future releases, you get the benefit of all the bug fixes and improvements that we're doing there. We don't sell subscriptions. We don't have subscribers. We just have wonderful people that enjoy ham radio and come along with us and support Ham Radio Deluxe. So that's what we're doing there. And this is who we are. I started this in 2012 with two other partners, and one of the partners I managed to exit at the end of 2016 in a festive manner. And then Randy Gautry, who is the president of TimeWave, Randy and I continued from the 1st of 2017. And then as of last July, I acquired Randy's interest in the company. And so I'm the last man standing. It's a little bit of a family-owned business at this point. My daughter is Lindy. She's in the sales staff. She has an MBA from TCU. She's a smart cookie. So she runs this thing on a day-to-day basis, particularly around sales, marketing, customer support, and so on. But we've got Amber and then Derek part-time. If you've contacted our tech support people, you probably know Tim, Kevin, and Ferry in Pennsylvania, Florida, and the Netherlands. Since the first of the year, I've basically tripled the number of developers that we have. I found a company in the Philippines that do excellent work. So half the people I've listed here work out of the Philippines, with Doug, Will, and Jose, Jim, and John being in the United States. We've got eight beta testers from every corner of the world, and they're quite helpful. So our goal really is to, I said, be the most indispensable asset in your shack, but we want to make you more productive as a ham radio operator, particularly around DXing, award tracking, and things of that nature. We went highly satisfied customers. When I took this over in early 2017, we had a lot of unhappy customers. And I made a decision at that point that now that we have a bit of a opportunity to take a clean slate approach, that our number one objective is not making money. In fact, most of the money that we make goes back into the development of the program, and Ham Radio Deluxe is not my primary source of income. So most of it goes back into development, but we want satisfied customers, and we've done a pretty good job with that. Our ratings are basically, 5 stars or in the high 4s ever since early 2017. Our target release schedule is we want to have 4 releases per year, something in the neighborhood of quarterly. We're behind on that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Mostly related to the fact we've added developers, and it takes a little time to get them acclimated. The release content will generally be about 80% fixes, 20% feature enhancements. I want to have 2 to 4 brand new features a year. I mentioned one regarding Mapper a while ago. And we'd like to have a new application or 2 every 24 months. And there are a couple new applications that I probably can't talk much about that we're working on right now. When I took this stuff over at the end of 2016, early 2017, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 defects in a tracking system. This data I pulled in December, so it's a little dated, but there's a total of 249 defects that we're tracking now. So basically we've cut it in almost by almost 75%. And you can see across the different applications where the defects are now that we're working on. But I will say this, for the numbers that you're looking at here, due to some rather poor record keeping prior to 2017, there's a bit of duplication in here. And many of these things, particularly in rig control, have common causes. So in one particular case, there's one item that I believe when we fix it, we'll take that number down by 14. So there's a lot of that going on, but we're going to try to whip through this thing and get it down into under 50, let's say, by the end of the year. As I mentioned, we onboarded 4 new developers since the first of the year. They have been they're excellent. They've done a lot of their company has done a lot of development around other software that many of us use. I won't mention them by name, but they do a lot of particularly UI development in products that you've probably seen or used. And so they've been digging into the code. Now they will tell me that, gosh, Mike, you had some sloppy developers in years past. So they're doing a bit of cleanup as they add things into the applications right now. So basically we're modernizing it, and one of the 7 right now is doing nothing but modernizing, while another one is working on the HRD alert feature, and then the remaining 5 are working on bug fixes. Everything, if you know much about software development, everything is in an online source library. They check the code out, they check the code in, so it's possible for us now to have an unlimited number of software developers working simultaneously in the product. We're going to have a new modern look to this. A lot of people will say, and it's an interesting thing, a lot of people say, gosh, Mike, I looked at your latest version of Ham Radio Deluxe and it doesn't look any different than it did when I had Simon's version. And well, that's true, but despite the fact that it looks the same, it does a whole lot more. But we could have made it look the same and have it not done anything else, right? So and then there's a lot of us that don't particularly want a lot of change like that. So, but we're trying to keep it simple. This is just one representation from the developer that's modernizing it. And then our radios in the future, this is a screenshot from the prototype that we're doing for rig control in the future. So you'll have a choice between whether or not you want the existing layout, or if you've got a radio like this 9700, you can choose to use the radio layout. So I think this is pretty cool. The interesting thing about this is I challenged one of these new developers to mock this up. He did this mock up in 48 hours. So, there's a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be able to do because these people are good and they're really quick at getting work done. So as I mentioned, we're building something called HRD Alert. Why is it called HRD Alert? Well, I had some conversations with folks who said, don't call it HRD Alert. And it's not my intention to be a bit tongue-in-cheek over this, but if I called it anything else, people probably wouldn't recognize what it is. That's the key to this, because for all of you that use JT Alert, if I said HRD Alert, you might assume that it's HRD's version of JT Alert. But it is JT Alert on steroids. There's a lot more that this feature will do than what you can do in JT Alert. First and foremost, and I want to go back and revisit this before I go further with this, in the DX cluster and logbook and in JT or HRD Alert, you can edit that out, Paul. In DX cluster and in HRD Alert, all of the work status indicators are colored. They're red if you've never worked it before. They're yellow if you've worked it but you haven't confirmed it, and it's green if you've worked and confirmed it. Now, we can color the whole entire row, but there's only so much fidelity you can pack into a row color and a font color. So we have so many work status indicators for country, by band and mode, for CQ zone by band and mode, ITU zone, grids, prefixes, continents, US states, counties, not just US states, by the way, but the new feature will work for any country that has states or provinces or prefectures or guns or oblasts or whatever. I mean, it'll work just the same. So, but the key thing as I go forward with this is, if it's not green and you want to get an award for it, if it's not green, you want to hide it and you want to find the stuff that's yellow and red, you know, bottom line. So kind of a busy slide, but let's just, I'll try to kind of carve it down. What we're really trying to do is add a real-time capability for you if you're using, doing FT8 with WSJT or JTDX, real-time identification or of the stuff you need to work, whether it's countries, zones, states, provinces, grids, counties, and so on, by band or mode. And you'll have that through audible, visual, email, and text messages. And you'll be able to see who's calling you. You'll be able to identify whether or not they participate in Logbook of the World or EQSL. You can initiate a QSO from within Ham Radio Deluxe Logbook, and it will automatically log your QSO in Ham Radio Deluxe Logbook, which it does today. That's what it will do. So here's the problem that we've got. At least this applies to FT8, right? Each time slot, I'll call them time slots. There's 4 per minute. They're 15 seconds long. You guys know this, right? So transmissions begin at 00. And they truck along for 13 seconds. And at the end of the 13-second period, now we've got data being sent or decoded in the WSJTX, for example. And then WSJTX will rebroadcast that information. That's how JT Alert obtains it. That's how HRD Alert obtains it. So we basically got 2 seconds left to parse that data, display the data, assess whether or not you need it or not. And this is the same problem that JT Alert or anybody else would have. You got 2 seconds to get through this stuff. So to speed things up, one of the things that we've done is the data, and you'll see this when I do the demo in a minute, the data is displayed in 2 passes. In the first pass, it's going to pretty much do the same thing that JT Alert does, and that is it's going to look to find out whether or not you need this country or for this band or mode, and the grid for this band or mode. Then in the second pass, it will actually go out to your lookup service if you use qrz.com or HamQTH or whatever you use. It'll go out and bring back state, county, CQ zone, ITU zone, continent, prefix, which we get from another routine, but basically it'll bring back all this information and then show you whether you need it. And we've got basically 13 seconds to do that part. So in the first pass, 2 seconds to display all the information based on what we've got. And the next 13 seconds while WSJTX is decoding the next set, we'll go and get this other information and display that for you. Okay, so then basically all of the stuff that you would normally see in WSJTX, you'll be able to see this in an HRD Alert. And then this is, for those of you that are using Ham Radio Deluxe today, and you're familiar with the DX cluster, this is what HRD Alert looks like. It looks identical to the DX cluster. In fact, when I gave this to one of my beta testers originally for the first build, one of the beta testers said, how is this any different than the DX cluster? And there's a really, really important difference. DX cluster gets its data from the DX cluster node that you're connected to, and HRD Alert gets its data from WSJTX or JTDX. It's otherwise displaying the same thing. So some folks said, gosh, Mike, it's really ambitious for you guys to put together this HRD Alert thing. Do you really think it's, you know, something you really should do? Well, we had 80% of this stuff already. All we really needed to do was go get the data from a different source. And in this case, it's WSJTX. There'll be all kinds of things that you can do to put additional data on the screen. I'm going to show you a screen in a moment. In fact, if I go back to this one, it's pretty busy. There's a lot of stuff here, but you don't have to have all these columns here. Most of us have worked all the continents, right? We've worked and confirmed all the continents on every band. So you don't need this column here that says continent. You can just hide it. If you don't really care about counties, you don't have to display the county column. If you don't care about prefixes, you don't have to display that, but you'll be able to select them here, just like you do in the DX cluster today. So you can kind of pare it down to only those things you're interested in. And then, the example I'm using here is that if you really care about DX countries, grids, and states, but maybe you might start chasing counties, and you display this much. And then again, everything is red. Everything that's, and I've seen, I can probably show you my DXCC totals, but on the far left, you'll notice that everything's green, and I've got 2,200-ish DXCC challenge points. So there's not a whole lot of non-green that I'm going to see because I've confirmed everything. But occasionally there is, and when there is, I want to go and work it. But you can see the color more so on the right-hand screen there. All right. While I'm setting this up and moving the screens around, any other questions at the moment?
Now, I've got one fairly basic one regarding the logbook. I realized that when I set it up, I used the start date as when I started using HRD. But then later on, I realized I want to take my paper logbook from when I started and add those in, so that when it tracks DXCC and stuff, those are all counted. I realize I turn off tracking and everything, and I manually enter all the stuff. But if I want to enter something from, say, 1977, is it going to accept it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, you just turn off, when you go to add something, you just turn off tracking.
Tracking, yeah.
In your date, you basically set the start and end to set by user, and then you can put in anything you want there.
Oh, cool. You can change that.
Normally I don't have it. This is a new PC, so I didn't actually set it the way I normally set it. So I'm actually working from a 49-inch screen, so that's why I had to putz around with getting things on the screen here.
All right.
But yeah, that's how you would do it. And frankly, Paul, one of the things, a buddy of mine some years ago, he passed away, N9 NS, Mike Good. He had a bunch of logs from kind of the old days. And he said, how do I get this stuff into Ham Radio Deluxe or into a logging program? I said, take your logs and I'll give you a spreadsheet, and take the logs and give them to a college student and tell them that for every one of these logs that you put into the spreadsheet, I'll give you $100, and just do it. And then you can import the spreadsheet by way of you can import the spreadsheet by way of ADIF master. So basically you would save the spreadsheet as a CSV, import it into ADIF master, check it there, and then you can save it as an ADIF and you can import it in here. I do that quite often for some of our customers when they need that.
Cool. I got something to play with.
Yep.
I have a question, Mike.
Yep.
On the spot thing right now for DX cluster, you've got the alarm position there, and there's supposedly they can text, or the software can send a text to your device to tell you that a certain station that you're watching is on. How do you get that to work? I've gone through miserable times trying to do that.
Yep. In options, you come down here to email alarms. Now, I haven't set this up. I probably should. Like I said, I just put this computer in week ago. I'm doing an unboxing video that I'm going to publish here before long, put on our YouTube page. But basically, you set up all your email stuff. Like if I want to smtp.gmail.com, I think it's port 425 maybe.
Yeah, where do you find the port number for your email?
Oh, you just go, and depending on what service you're using, or 465, you go and find out. I mean, one of the things I think we used to have, if you use Gmail, you can or Hotmail or Yahoo or whatever, you can pick it out of the list and it'll pre-populate it, and then you just put in your username and password and set up the outgoing email address. So if I want to be Mike at hrdsoftwarellc.com. But what you would do is your cell phone has an email address, and depending on who your carrier is, mine's 972-62-0490 at VZW. VZ. I'm not exactly sure, but it's something like this.
Okay.
And then that'll send the text message to your phone. Or you can have it send it to an email address. But whatever this is, whatever you put in here is what it's gonna send to.
Okay, maybe I just need to play with a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, and you call us and we'll take it up, with you directly.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Figure
you.
that out. Yep.
Excuse me 1 minute.
Yep. I'm gonna have, this is by the way, the Australia has the second largest population of you can't see it either, of feral camels, and they have a very large camel farm here. And if you go there, you can get a cup cover for your soft drink. Okay, so I'm going to show off HRD Alert here. When you launch the program, HRD Alert won't be showing, so you'll be looking at this. And then if you're entitled to it, you click on HRD Alert. That'll bring this up. And so what I want to do is get my radio on a frequency where there's some activity right now. If I look over in DX cluster, probably 40 meters would be good. So I'm going to tune to 40 meters. Pardon me for a moment. Oh, I intend to do that. But I'm using a web-based radio at the moment. So it's going to take me a moment to get this thing warmed up. Can't say enough about the folks at Remote Ham Radio either. These guys are really smart, really good. We'll be using their radios at Dayton.
Can I ask another question?
Certainly.
When are we going to see that pan adapter?
Well, so let me say something about the pan adapter. Not all radios are capable of a pan adapter, right? So there's only about 5 radios that have a built-in pan adapter. Yaesu or ICOM's got 3, 7300, 7600, 9700. Kenwood's got 1, it's 890. And for the rest of them, you need some kind of an external box like a SDR Play. So right now we're working with the folks at SDR Play so that Ham Radio Deluxe can sync automatically. Rig control can sync automatically with the SDR Uno. So once we get that going, it'll basically, you'll need something like an SDR play to generate the data that SDR Uno will use and that we'll connect to. And then you'll need, say, depending on how what kind of radio you've got, you'll either connect it to the IF of your radio if you've got an IF, or you need a MFJ sells a kind of an antenna splitter. I can't remember what to call it, but they sell an antenna splitter that you can use to connect your SDR radio, like the SDR play, to your antenna while it's simultaneously plugged into your radio. But I had a guy come to me at Orlando a couple of years ago, and he says, you need to make the waterfall in DM780 at least 20 kilohertz wide. And Bob Heil does a great job of talking about why that's not possible. But basically, the audio passband or the audio bandwidth of a USB or upper side or sideband, single sideband channel is 2.7 kilohertz wide on some radios and 2.4 kilohertz wide in others. So there's no place to go and get more bandwidth. You're going to get 2.4 or 2.7 out of the audio, depending on what your radio is, and that's it. So that's why you need an external pan adapter.
Okay.
For some radios. So let's see. So you notice I got HRD alert running here. That's what you see down here in the bottom of my screen. And you can see that I've got WSJTX over here. And it was barking about the frequency, so we're good. Right. So I'm using an alpha version of the software, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit because it's not where I want it to be, but it's pretty close. I haven't released it to the beta testers yet because there's still a few things that I want to get done before I give it to them. But here in a second, so we're going to see a lot of decodes coming in here. And I'm going to call this guy 985 Echo. So I double clicked on that and I did it late, but you can see that it automatically sent it over here to WSJTX, and it's going to transmit that. So I'm going to talk through this while WSJTX is in the process of trying to add the guy to my log, and we're going to transmit again. I probably didn't go and select a spot to transmit, which I probably should. But all I did was double click on this and it went ahead and sent that request over to WSJTX, and WSJTX is going to help me work it. Now, I don't even need to see WSJTX at the moment at all, but I do, just like we all do, because we want to see what's going on. If he doesn't answer me, I'll go into somebody else. But over here in the right-hand side, where you see these, if I go down far enough, sometimes, and this is one of the things that, so you notice how some of these United States spots have county over here. So this is where, and you can see it filling it in. So you're looking at the second pass happening here. So in the first pass, everything that's on the left-hand side of this display, so country and the DXCC stuff and all that stuff, that's all being populated. And then in the second pass, for the remaining 13 seconds, we go out and get county and state, things of that nature. So it's we're working to improve the speed of that right now. So I didn't get him to answer me, so let's see what comes up next. Oh, apparently I'm calling, I went ahead and called G0LJU. See if he responds back. I can also filter this if I want to see, don't show me the decodes that I don't need. Only show me the decodes that I do need by band. Here's one that's showing that I need it only because the call was not sent completely in WSJTX. But if I come over here to DX cluster, I can do the same thing by band or mode and just hide everything that I don't need. So I really ought to go over here onto 80 meters and see if I can get this guy in the log. So that would be helpful. By the way, if you've never done this, if you have Google Earth installed and you get the guy's call over here in the lookup pane and you click this, it'll basically take you directly to where the guy's QTH is. You can drill down on his QTH like this, and you can see what kind of car he drives. Does he have a nice swimming pool? Things of that nature. So let's see. Over to HRD alert. I'm going to take a different radio. Hang on one second. Let me end this. Bear with me. Normally when I start calling here, it's so busy that I'm fighting them off. Clear this out, and over here we've got a clear button in HRD alert, so I'm going to clear that out. And so I'm just looking at the stuff that I've got coming in from the new radio. I'm going to work this guy. One thing I'll say about FT8 is that I don't know how many of you did JT65, but that was like watching paint dry. I mean, it was really painful. Primarily, I'm a CW DXer, and my QSOs are probably about 7 seconds long, and so I've got some people calling me here. I'm gonna call this one back. So I just double click this. So I'm gonna call him back. Oh, meanwhile, the other guy answered me. That's what I get for being impatient. Now we're over here in HRD alert. We're actually going to color these. So the colors will be the same as what you would see them in WSJTX. If they're calling you, they'll be shaded red. If they're calling CQ, they'll be shaded green, and so on. If you double clicked on it and you're trying to call him, it'll be shaded yellow. See if it concludes here. Probably does. There we go. So then it pops up, and I'm going to click OK. It'll do the call sign lookup and then put it into the log, and there we go. So I probably should go and finish the other guy up, which is easier for me to just click over here and do that. And then I'll move on to some other things. But obviously, I didn't need that particular station for an award or anything, but added it to the log nonetheless. You can see, again, the color and the grid. So for this one here means that I've actually I've confirmed that grid on 40 meters, but I've not I've confirmed it on the band, but I've not confirmed that grid. Let me get this right. I've confirmed the grid by mode. I haven't confirmed the grid or worked the grid by band. And then that guy is located. Here's that QSO. I'll save that over in Germany. So pretty cool. So I could come over here and put in WD9GCO, and I see where Paul's at. And then we'll go ahead and click this and bring us over to where Paul's located, somewhere in Porter County. So anyway, that's a fun thing to do. So I got other people calling me too. I'm going to answer one of them here. And then I'll disconnect and go on to a couple other things, and then I'll take some questions. How much time do we have, Paul?
However much you need.
All right. Presently, one of the things that we're doing is we're working to speed up the second pass. So what you're looking at in HRD Alert right now is the results of the first pass. So there's some US decodes here that I don't have county and state yet. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is that we haven't quite optimized it yet. You can see if I go down far enough, you can see it's still working to fill some of that stuff in. But I'm also in Australia, and I found that the responsiveness of QRZ in Australia isn't particularly great. Probably works better for you. I think they host it in Amazon Web Services, but this will wrap up here. Add that one to the log, and then see. I've got him in here. I'm going to expand this a little bit. I've got these three that I just put in the log. I'm going to upload those to to Logbook of the World. And then I am done with that. Okay. So I'm going to stop decoding. I'm going to disconnect my radio. And then I'll come over and talk about a couple other things in Logbook. The settings that you need to do what I was just showing you are under QSO forwarding. So this is the way you set things up if you want to connect WSJTX or JTDX to Ham Radio Deluxe. You need to set these settings that are located down here in the lower portion of this. Frankly, check them all. In future versions, I'm gonna have all these things pre-configured so you don't have to go and configure them. And then I'll just drag this over here for a second. In WSJTX, one of the problems that folks have is that they will say, I can't get WSJTX or I can't get Ham Radio Deluxe to connect to the radio when I'm running JTDX or WSJTX. And the reason is because they've selected something other than Ham Radio Deluxe for the radio connection. Windows and PCs can only handle one application connecting to a COM port at a time. That's inclusive of virtual serial port. The physical port can only have one connection. So this needs to be set to Ham Radio Deluxe. You can use whatever PTT method you want, but that's the proper way to set that. Okay. And you're all familiar with probably the rest of the software, but just to be complete, DM780 does all of, I'll call it the legacy digital modes. A lot of people have asked us, why don't you do FT8 and FT4 and so on within DM780? And the answer is there's some licensing concerns that I'm trying to work through with Dr. Taylor and his team. if we can get to the point where they will allow us to add it to a commercial product, then we'll do that. The rotor program, which I don't have a rotor connected at the moment. Probably have a demo. I can connect a demo rotor. And obviously, you know, when you have this running, you connect and it'll automatically turn your antenna to, I haven't connected it to the demo rotor. Where is the demo rotor? Here we go. That works out really well. One of the things that we're going to do in the future is give you the ability to see more of what's going on the air on the rotor app. So maybe you can display the spots there, but you also, I talked earlier about Mapper. Bring this down a little bit. Mapper will eventually turn into something like that sexy screen that Jeff has behind him. So you'll be able to see all this stuff on your screen. Similarly, display your DX spots or display your last 100 QSOs or however you want to show it, along with other kinds of events that are going on in the world. And then finally, the satellite application, which I've learned to love this because I've been a ham since 1974, and up until a bit ago, I had never, well, probably 2019, I think I made my first satellite QSL. I always thought it would be really difficult to do, but it turns out it's really pretty easy. I don't have it connected to a satellite radio right now, but you can see that presently CubeSat is passing over my home QTH in Dallas. And that's why this is green down here as this thing makes its way across the horizon. So that's, well, and then rig control, which I have running over here. Rig control, the looks of rig control really haven't changed that much. We are, like I showed you earlier, we are going to change it pretty significantly over the course of the next year or so. And although I intend for people to be able to come back to this screen if they want to, one of the benefits of this is I've got Yaesu radios, Icom radios, Kenwood radios. I've got a Flex that I haven't cracked open yet. The nice thing about this screen is everything's in the same place, regardless of what kind of radio I've got. I used to use an Icom IC706 mobile. I presently have a Yaesu FT857D on my desk, and radios like that have menus all over the place to get to things. But the nice thing is that if you've got a familiar screen like this, you're able to get to wherever you want to go. So I'm going to put this back over where I had it and do what my mom told me to do, which is spend a bit of time listening. So I want to open it up to you guys. I have pen and paper. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. And meanwhile, I think I will work a little DX.
Okay, I have a question. You mentioned the 857D, which hits home to me because I just picked up an 857 and I'm going to try some Parks in the Air stuff. Does my license allow me to install it also on a laptop?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing that one, because I get that often. I should have put it in the presentation. You can have it installed on 5 computers simultaneously.
Cool.
And you know, there are cases where I've had people install it on a computer and then they either, you know, format the hard drive and reinstall Windows, or the hard drive fails, and those kinds of things will tie up license keys. So you can go to a website, mykeys.hamradiodeluxe.com, and when you get to this website, you can get the information about what PCs your key is connected to. So my point here is, If you happen to hit 5 and you don't really have it installed on 5, you come here, you get the license key, then you come here and you deactivate the key, and then you get your number back down. So up to 5 simultaneously is what you've got access to. Paul.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Another question regarding, okay, so I know I do regular backups of my logbook to a local file. Is there, have I just not seen it, or is there a plan to allow you to tie that back up to a cloud like my Box account or Dropbox?
I feel like you've watched one of my videos and you're being a straight man for me here, Paul.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. So you can configure backups here. And I'm doing exactly what Paul just mentioned. Let me, in case this is hard to see, let me squeeze the screen down to this so you guys can just see what I'm looking at.
Oh, so you're saving it to the local Box folder, which syncs it to my cloud account.
Yep.
Awesome.
So I actually save it to all those things. So if you can see through what I've got here, you can create 5 copies of your backup in various formats. One goes to, for me, one goes to Dropbox, one goes to OneDrive, one goes to Box, one goes to iCloud, and one goes to Google Drive.
Okay.
My theory is, if something happens that I can't get to my log, the world has bigger problems, right? If I can't get to one of those services, we're in trouble.
Right.
So yeah, I back it up every time I close it. I back it up every 6 hours. You've got choices for how you want to handle that. But yeah,
Perfect.
that's how I would recommend it. There's a video on our YouTube channel that walk through how to configure that specifically.
Awesome.
Yep.
My turn to chime in. I've got HRD on my main computer in my shack. I also have it on my laptop for remote operations. I'm not able to sync my logbook between the two of them. Is that an easy?
So I've got pretty much the same problem, Jeff. And what I did was, and it's a little bit, arguably it's a little bit more work than what you'd think it should be. But what I do is, on my main computer, as I just demonstrated, all my backups go to Dropbox.
Right.
My Dropbox folder is replicated on my laptop. So the first thing I do is I go to my laptop, and basically, I'm not going to do this on this one because this is my main computer, but I select all the QSOs that are on the laptop copy, and I delete them. And then I put the backup on there, and then I go out and I work Parks on the Air or Summits on the Air, or I used to have, if I don't know if the picture's still on my QRZ page, but I used to have a stand, a pedestal with a laptop in my car that was connected to my mobile rig. So I would log with the mobile rig. And so when I would log some QSOs, let's say I logged 100 QSOs while I was out, I would highlight those, save and export them as an ADIF into Dropbox. And then when I got back into my main computer here, I would basically go over here to File, Import, ADIF, and I would go get that ADIF file. I would import it. And now once it's in my main log, I would upload it to Club Log and Logbook of the World. So my advice is I would do that. Eventually we'll have a way to sync 2 databases. It gets complicated for a number of reasons that I won't bore us with right now, but it has to do with primary keys and stuff like that. So
Okay.
but we'll get there, but that's the way I would do it. And
So-
my advice is just keep one computer as the computer that you upload, download to Logbook of the World from, or otherwise it's just going to tie you up in more knots than you really want.
That's what I do. In fact, when I do a work on my laptop, when I'm connected up to the rig and everything, what
Mhm.
I do is I just save those particular files. And just like you said, ADIF them, upload them somewhere, and then I get my main computer and download them and do what I got to do with them. But that
Yep.
just like you said, it's cumbersome. So something else I'm looking forward to in your future future
So-
revisions.
So essentially the laptop, I'll go out to a park. I'll start, let's say this is the first time, start with a clean slate. I make 100 contacts. When I'm done, I export the ADIF file, upload it, import that into my main one, then tear the sheet of paper off on the laptop. And next time I go out, start clean again.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, the only modification to that, Paul, is I always import my backup into my from my main computer. I always import that into my laptop or restore the backup to my laptop because I'm going out. And you may not want to do this if you want to keep your park log separate from everything else. But basically for me, I wanted to have everything there that I've worked before.
Right.
So all of my work status indicators look the same. If I go to my awards tracking, I want to
Okay.
be able to see, what I've worked and what I haven't.
Okay. So I go out, I do my first activation. I export that ADIF list. I import that into the main one here,
Mhm.
clean it all up. And then next time I go out, I delete everything off the laptop, import the big chunk from home.
Restore the backup.
Yeah,
Yep.
restore it, and then add to that,
And then
export
repeat.
that out, and then restore that onto the home machine.
Well, you're only exporting out the new ones.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's because I don't want to change anything on the main computer. I'm
Okay.
just going to take the new ones that I worked, select those, export them,
Got it.
and then
Okay.
import them here. Yeah.
All right.
And again, it's probably a few more steps than,
Well,
reasonably necessary. However,
until the
it's,
syncing thing gets worked out, it's
yeah.
a process.
yeah. And if you're coming to Dayton, come see us at Dayton. We'll be in the Hertz building. I think our booth number is 5006 and 5007.
Definitely.
Oh, here's somebody else that wants to talk to me. I'll just click it over here.
If I
And-
can't get this text thing to work, can I open a tech support for help on that?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Yep. And by the way, and let me just give you 30 seconds on that topic here. We moved on to a new system, a new platform by Freshdesk, and highly recommend that you go and try this first, because if you go in here and you say, well, I really want to know how to set up WSJTX. If you put in WSJTX here, it's going to show, it automatically will show you, the answer to that question with a video. If you want to know, well, I've got a 7300 and let me get this guy logged. I've got a 7300 and I'd like to know how to set up the 7300. You go here and it'll show you how to set up the 7300. So
Nice.
I tell people that our support site has the answers to all the questions known to man except for 2 questions. That is, 1, what are the winning lottery numbers for this weekend? And 2, when's the second coming? Aside from that, all the answers known to man are in this thing. So you can basically come in here and
Do it yourself. You don't have to bother your text.
well, start there. And if you don't
Perfect.
get an answer, then create a ticket on that system or send an email in. Either way, it'd be fine.
Yeah,
Perfect.
those
Okay.
lottery numbers, and I'd be learning how to set up a Flex 6700 with this, but
Exactly.
Thank you again for this wonderful product. It's just fantastic. And I can't say enough good about it to anybody I know. I don't
Yeah.
care what kind of radio you got, but you better be running HRD.
Well,
And
I've told people there are only 2 kinds of hams in the world: the ones that are using HRD and the ones that aren't using it yet.
True.
I started using, like I said, I started using version 5. And then I hung on to it for quite a while because my 590S was in it and it was doing what I wanted. And then I started to see more and more features, especially with the digital stuff coming up, that it's like, And then I made the jump to the new version. I'm like, yep, no regrets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll be
Tom,
busy tonight.
yeah, Tom had to bail. Tom lives way out in the boonies and he has satellite, and it was starting, a rainstorm was moving in. So he wanted to make sure to thank you for doing this because he really appreciates it. And he's going to watch the replay when I put it up.
And
Excellent.
Tom's the one who hooked me up with HRD. He's the one that said, same thing I said, don't care what kind of radio you got to get HRD. It's worth it. And back then it was Simon's, so it was free. But I've paid for, the upgrades and a tech support all along the way.
Well, we're looking forward to doing a lot of really cool things with these new developers over the course of the next few years. So it's going to look different. It's going to have great new features. You may see a very useful contest feature coming.
Oh, cool.
You may see a new feature that will allow, or a new application that will allow you to program your HT, your radios, similar to what RT Systems is doing.
Holy cow.
So there'll be some cool new things coming.
Wow, that's
Awesome.
wonderful. Thank you.
You
All
bet.
right. Do we have
Thanks,
anything
guys.
else? All right. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Mike, and really appreciate it. You have a good morning.
Cheers from down under.
All right. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.